Hey, it's Michael Kosta. It's the Tennis Anyone podcast. Monday, September 9th, U.S. Open is over. I spent a lot of time. I spent a lot of time. I watched Jessie Pegula, Aryna Sabalenka. I watched her go down. I was kind of in and out. I was working at the Tennis Channel, so I had this media pass so I could run into Arthur Ashe and had to run out. I didn't have a seat. I couldn't watch all the matches, but I saw a lot of different stuff. And watching Jessie Pegula fight back, she was down a set in 3-0. Watching her come back, it was very, very loud in Arthur Ashe Stadium, which is funny because last week on this podcast, I was bitching about how the commentators kept forcing the question of, isn't it loud at Arthur Ashe Stadium? I will also say this about New York City tennis fans. Why the fuck were they cheering for Aryna Sabalenka? Because she said she'd buy you a drink? I love Aryna Sabalenka. I support her, but it's like she's Russian. She's Belarusian. We don't, it was like they were being very polite. Very polite. And I'm like, we have an American in the finals. Congrats to Jessica Pegula. Congrats to Taylor Fritz, who just played a much better player than Jannik Sinner. Jannik Sinner is an excellent tennis player. His defense is insane. His ball striking is insane. We're going to listen to the press conferences of both the second winners, a.k.a. the losers. The winners made $3.6 million. The losers probably, half that. Insane accomplishment. We had two American men and women in the finals. As I told John Wertheim on my Tennis Channel spot, which is available at the Tennis Channel app, I don't think home court advantage has to do with in the stadium striking the ball. As you can even tell from Sabalenka, the crowd was like rooting for her at points. I think home court advantage has to do with scheduling and the athletes tapering their schedules for that tournament. Does that make sense? Francis Tiafoe organizing his whole schedule around the U.S. Open because he knows he's going to get the night matches. He knows that he's going to get the show court, so he wants to be at his best. As Jannik Sinner said, when I'm in Italy, they cheer for me. When I'm in America, they cheer for the American. These players are incredibly seasoned and experienced. They're not going to throw the match away because the crowd is cheering for their opponent. If anything, like Novak gets all pissed off about it and then he plays better. So, but I do think there's a home court advantage in that you get scheduled when you want, and also the home athlete focuses more on that tournament and makes sure their body and mind is sound and ready. Both Fritz and Pegula were pretty down in their post-match press conference. You got to, it's easy for us to say, but you made the finals. This was a great achievement. You made millions of dollars. You won 6 matches. Pegula, I was at the Iga Swiatek match. She beat the number 1 player in the world. Then she turned around and played Karolina Muchova and went down a set and figured it out. I mean, Jessica Pegula figures things out, and it's fun to watch her brain work on the tennis court. But of course they're sad because you get so close to a final. In particular, you get so close to a championship. In particular, the finals of your home slam. It's got to hurt. So they're a little bit down. I like this question that this player asks. I like this question that this guy from Buffalo asked Jessica. Let's listen to it. It's about her friends and family in the audience during her final.
That have, been a little bit better consistently.
Here's the question.
It's Tim Alshai, Buffalo News.
Buffalo News.
If I heard you correctly in the post-match interview, you had a pretty big contingent of family here. I think you said both your parents. I know you typically have a pretty small group. What was it like to be out there with that kind of like personal support?
I forgot to say, I'll be in Seattle and Portland this weekend performing. Seattle sold out. There might be tickets left for the second show. Portland, believe it's one show. There's like 10 tickets left. So get out there. Seattle and Portland this weekend. Michael Kosta. Here is Jessica Pegula. Sorry about that. Here's Jessica Pegula's answer to what's it like playing in front of all these people. I think this is a really cool insight to her life. I love this.
Yeah, it was really cool. I had a lot of friends that were just like, I'm flying in, and when I'm coming, I don't care. I'm going to get off work and all this stuff. And I thought that was really cool because I feel like, in a way, not just my journey, but my friends and family have been on this journey with me as well. My family, obviously, but even like some really close friends who, we've sacrificed a lot of, or who have even played a little bit with me when I was younger, but have sacrificed a lot of things that we don't really get to do together.
Love this.
And, they know how it is, and they've either played or they understand by now that we don't live a normal life. So I think for them, it was really fun too, with how many maybe things I've had to miss for them to kind of come in and, see this is why. I think that's really cool. And almost in a way, like they've kind of earned that, too. So I think it was really fun. And my family, yes, of course. But
let me just chime in here. I mean, I can relate to this so much through comedy, don't forget, Jessica's 30 years old. So she's not 20. This isn't her 10th Grand Slam final. This is her first. She actually has a life. She actually has friends and family, and people who have real lives too, who have marriages and families and jobs. It's fun to hear a professional athlete talk about someone they know that has an actual job. So in comedy, you always take your wins. You always take your wins. The first time I did the Tonight Show, I packed my green room. And the guy comes in, he goes, wow, we had Snoop Dogg here yesterday and he didn't have all these people. And I go, yeah, because Snoop Dogg has done this before. This is my first time. I don't know when I'll be back. Everybody's coming. Everybody. Family, roommates, roommates of roommates, friends of roommates of roommates. So great. And, she's right. Those friends have missed Jessica Pegula at weddings, at events, at, those dumb weekends that the Bachelorette, whatever the fuck it is that normal people do. And so it's really fun that they came in and saw this is what she's doing. And I think it's really self-aware of Jessica Pegula to recognize that. Let's listen to this next. Let's listen to her final answer on this.
For my friends to kind of fly in is really nice. So hopefully I get to see him tonight.
Okay. David, Matt, Court. David.
Hi, Jess. David Kane, tennis.com. You said before the semifinals you were feeling a little bit loose, but today you started pretty well, so I'm curious what the nerves were like heading into the day and what it was like getting to speak with Steph Curry before the match started.
Oh, yeah. Today I actually felt really good, and I wasn't really that nervous. I just felt like I was ready to go, and it was
Jessica Pegula and Taylor Fritz said they weren't that nervous, which is interesting because they both lost. But I would think they know better than me. Nerves can be very detrimental both to your physical ability and also, like Francis Tiafoe said, he was so nervous he just started cramping for no reason. He physically was fine, but the nerves caused him to cramp, which, I don't even know if I've ever played a match where the stakes were so high that the nerves made me cramp. Probably in college would be the closest. But I can't imagine thinking, holy shit, if I win this, I go to the U.S. Open final, and that causes you to cramp. And let's be honest about Francis Tiafoe. Excellent tournament, excellent results, 5 wins. But the way he fell off against Fritz, and then Fritz in the press conference saying I had to put scoreboard pressure on him, I knew that would be a beneficial tactic. That's Taylor Fritz saying, I thought he was going to choke if I made it close. Let's listen to Jesse answer this.
It's a fun atmosphere, obviously. It maybe changes once you're in the match, but I didn't feel flat. I didn't feel nervous. I actually felt really good. So I thought that was a good sign. I thought I handled the moment more or less pretty well, besides obviously not winning. But as far as everything else, I think I did a good job. And yeah, being able to talk to Steph, that was really cool. I met him kind of briefly at the Olympics during the opening ceremony, and we traded pins. But it was cool for him to come out. I guess he's really wants to kind of keep supporting women's sports and get really into it. So it was really fun to meet him and also his wife. And funny story, my husband, his iPhone name is Steph Curry because he loves Steph Curry. So if you connect to Bluetooth or send him something or AirDrop, it's Steph Curry's iPhone. And I kind of left early, and he texted me and he was so excited. He didn't want to say anything. And I was like, please tell me you did not tell him about the iPhone thing. And he's like, oh yeah, I did. So I thought that was really cute. And he's like, no, he loved it. And I was like, Did he? Or did he really think you were kind of crazy? But I guess he thought it was pretty funny. And he was like, oh, you got to show my wife that. So that was kind of a cool moment for him because he's like a diehard Steph Curry fan. And I think actually first watched him at an NCAA tournament in Buffalo. So he always...
So hard to not be a Steph Curry fan, even if you don't know anything about him personally, just the way he shoots the basketball and change the game and change the idea of, hey, I can just make a three-pointer. Let's just do that. This is a great story. Jess Pegula, I've always liked her. It's easy to kind of hate on the wealth she comes from. That's not her fault. And I just love that she stays composed, fights her ass off, and just seems like a normal human, right? Even though she might fly in a private jet. Congrats to her. And it is weird when you meet celebs because you both realize that they put their pants on one leg at a time also, but then also you realize like I remember I introduced my wife once to this author of this book she really loved. This was not a famous person. Do you understand? This was just a 100% non-celebrity author who wrote a cool book. And maybe because there's no TV factor here, but I introduced them and I look over and she can't even talk. She's just like starstruck by this author. It was very funny what the celebrity status will do to somebody, in particular, not a true celebrity, but just someone that you've built up in your head. Right? Hilarious. All right, let's get to Taylor Fritz. I have not listened to anything of Yannick Sinner, but I have listened to Taylor Fritz, and I like his assessment of the game. And I think you got to get over the fact that Taylor talks like Cro-Magnon man, and you just have to listen to his words. And he's pretty intellectually. He's intellectually sound from a tennis standpoint.
It was a really tough match for me, I think.
Taylor lost in straight sets to Yannick Sinner. He was up a break and served for the third set. Yannick came back, and this is his first Grand Slam final. Very similar to Jessica Pegula, lost to a player who's ranked higher. Yannick Sinner is his second Grand Slam of the year. He won the Australian. He won the U.S. Open. Carlos Alcaraz won the French and won Wimbledon. For those of you that thought tennis was going to suck after Federer and Nadal and Djokovic left, Djokovic won the gold medal, obviously. We now have Sinner and Alcaraz, both who split the Grand Slams this year. That's going to be a fun rivalry.
I had a plan of what I wanted to do going out, but some parts of it I did well, and a lot of parts of it I definitely didn't, I guess, hit the ball as well as I expected to, and that's something that's big if I wanted to just go back and forth and ball strike with him, because he's such an amazing ball striker.
When I first heard this, I kind of thought this was like, and then you really think about it, and it's totally spot on. Yannick Sinner is such an enormous ball striker. I mean, when he hits the ball, it sounds like this. And so Fritz is dead on. And when I watched this, I said, Fritz, you're hitting the ball way too short and way too center of the court. You need to fucking step up and rip the ball. He wasn't. And when you don't do that to Yannick Sinner, is bye-bye. He explains that.
And, I feel like I improved the serve a lot in the second set. The first
serve, he had 39% first serves in. That's not good. And he says he wasn't really nervous, and he might not have been, but there's the nerves you know about, and there's the nerves you know about, and there's the nerves you don't know about. Maybe the nerves he didn't know about were causing him to only make 39% of his first serves. Also, the fact you're playing the number one player in the world whose return is a fucking beast.
So my serve was really struggling, and then third set started to kind of put it together a bit more with just hitting the ball, hitting my forehand a little bit better. Put myself in a good position to win the third, but he played a good game when I went to serve it out. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of just how it goes when I'm playing he's the best.
This is where he talks about typically if things weren't going well, he would kind of increase his margins, play safer tennis, and he could beat most people that way. But he talks about how against Yannick, that does not work.
Best player in the world right now. My plan A is not working. The plan B that I fall back on, would normally be just like bringing everything in, being a little bit safer, grinding it out, and that works along with my serve against some other, a lot of other players. But against him, when I tried to kind of bring it down, not be as aggressive, then he's just gonna bully me a little bit too much. So
he's gonna bully me. And when I've watched Yannick Sinner 3 times this year on Arthur Ashe, that's a great word. And I love when an athlete uses a word that no one else has been using because he felt it. Simple word right there. And I watched 2 weeks of ESPN coverage. I listened to the Amex headset, talked to countless people about tennis these last 2 weeks at the U.S. Open. I haven't heard anybody say he bullied me. But Taylor Fritz, who's the 12th player in the world, he's going to go up now. He's describing what it feels like to be in a baseline rally with Yannick Sinner. He feels like you got bullied. And trust me, it looks like when Yannick Sinner hits the ball and when what was I at? I went to the quarterfinals and he was playing Michael. Who did he play in the quarterfinal? I was at the match. I was sitting in the suite. I took videos. Yannick Sinner, Dimitrov? No. Now I got to look up the fucking draw. I don't want to. It's going to take too many steps. Let's just do it. U.S. Open men's draw. Will I remember it? Qualifying singles draw? You out of your mind. I'm going to ATP. Let's go quarterfinals. U.S. Open. Yannick Sinner, Taylor Fritz. Yannick Sinner, Draper. Medvedev. Come on, Kosta. Yeah. He bullies you. You think bullying has been eliminated from the public school system? Well, it still exists at Flushing Meadows. And it's Yannick Sinner bullying Taylor Fritz.
It was tough that I guess my plan A wasn't really working for me.
Also, that's what the number one player in the world does. He makes your plan A not work. And then you got to try to beat the number one player in the world with your plan B, which isn't even your plan A. The reason it's plan B is because it's not your plan A, because your plan A is not working. I'm so thankful for a big serve in these types of moments, because if you have a big serve, you can just hold and figure your shit out. But at 39% in the first set, you can't just hold and figure it out. And Taylor Fritz did start to figure it out. And that's one thing that we should all learn from this. The best men and women in the world, they just never stop tinkering and trying to figure out. When Pegula was down a set in 3-0, and I'm standing up there watching her, I'm going, this is it. It's over. You made the finals against Sabalenka. It's a great achievement. Just lose it. And then she started drop shotting. She changed it up, tinkering. Same with Fritz in the third set. She started to serve better. Now I'm holding better. Now I can take more chances on the return. So never stop tinkering. Champions adjust. Jimmy Connors, I didn't lose. I ran out of time. You just keep calibrating. Love that word.
Until the third set, I started to kind of get it going.
Okay. Thank you. One question each.
All right. So Fritz press conferences to me are tough to listen to, but I like this end here, and I'll summarize it quickly for you. He mentioned a bunch of times in his press conference that he didn't play unbelievable tennis these last 2 weeks. He was just playing solid. And I just want to remind anyone who's a tennis player right now that most of the time you're going to play somewhere between pretty good and pretty bad. Rarely you're going to play excellent. Rarely are you going to play piss poor. But the best players win their matches when they're somewhere in between pretty good and pretty bad. It's just how we play most of the time. It's how most of our days are most of the time. How was your day yesterday? It was somewhere in the middle, right? Very rarely is it the greatest day of your life or the worst day of your life. We remember the greatest days of our lives and we remember the worst days of our lives. But most of the time, the way you play tennis, the way you take a test, the way you communicate with your wife, the way you commute to work, it's somewhere in the middle. And if you can find little wins in there and you can move forward with your head forward when your talent and your execution of your game plan, whatever the skill set is somewhere in the middle, well, that's how you're going to advance in life. Let's listen to what he says here.
You were sick of being asked about and what you hadn't had the opportunity to do before. What do you think you proved to yourself at this tournament?
I think the biggest thing is like I said before, and I played solid this week, but I played very within myself. I don't think I at any point was like, wow, I'm playing incredible, or I'm playing out of my mind, and I think that's just extremely reassuring to me that I was able to get to this point, just playing solid tennis, and I know that
I'm going to let him finish, but I'm also going to jump in. That's my podcast. I can do what I want. This relates to comedy too. I mean, it's so rare that you have like a gangbusters hot crowd and you're firing on all cylinders as a comic. It's so rare that the crowd sucks and your jokes suck. It's almost always somewhere in the middle. And I can say with Taylor Fritz saying this, it reminds me, I'm now more a comedian than I am a tennis player, or that I was a tennis player. It's very reassuring when the crowd, and this is how we judge it in comedy, when the crowd is solid and you do a solid job, and then people come up to you and say, that was the best night of my life, or no one's ever made me laugh like that. And it's going, wait, I had such a big result, yet I just thought I was doing my solid job, which you were. And we all want to get to the point where our solid, where our middle ground is fucking awesome, right?
There's still a lot of room for improvement, and something I've said throughout my entire career, whether it's when I won my first ATP point, or I won my first challenger, or I made my first round of 16, or whatever it is, I've always said once I do something once, I just feel a lot more confident in being able to do it again. That's something that's always stuck with me. Sometimes it's taken me some time to get to a certain achievement, but I've always felt like once I've done something, I gain a lot of confidence that I can do it again. So it is a great feeling to have gotten to this point, knowing that, I'm playing well, but I'm playing very within myself, and I feel like it's repeatable.
Hell yeah, dude. Big win. You played within yourself, you played solid, and you made the US Open final. That's badass. So that's where we all want to be. We all want to be playing within ourselves, and you make the final. And obviously you got to step up. I said this on the tennis channel. I said, I'm hoping, this was the day before the final, I said, I'm hoping Taylor Fritz can pull out something special here. And I don't think he did. And I would say he didn't pull out something special. But now he has the confidence that I can get to the finals again, and then I'll pull something special out. Because you need something special in a final. But he should feel confident. I do expect this to help him big time. And man, is it tough to win a Grand Slam, huh? Man, is it tough. Think about all the fucking matches he's played in the tournaments. And I love that he mentioned first ATP point here, because as someone that got a first ATP point, it is a big win. You feel great about it your whole life. And then he moved on. So I thought this was great. Now, Jannik Sinner. Let's hear his initial thoughts on this match. And He's just next to the trophy. He's got to feel good. The drug controversy's still weird, but let's listen.
Congratulations, Yannick. Your thoughts on the championship match?
Yeah, amazing feeling. Obviously, it was a tough match. I felt like I was playing some good tennis from the back of the court, and yeah, so I'm happy about today's performance.
Thank you very much.
I mean,
One
Jesus
question
Christ.
each. We have a big room, English, and then we'll go to Italian.
Let's hear some Italian.
Questions. Russell.
Yannick, congratulations. Russell Fuller from the BBC. It's quite unusual to win a first and a second Grand Slam in the same year. So which of the successes did you find harder? Was it harder to win in Melbourne or harder to win here in New York?
I believe that you can't really compare them because it's different circumstances, different times.
Wouldn't we all want to be asked in our lives, was winning your second Grand Slam the same or different than winning your first Grand Slam? In the same fucking year. That's great effort. What a great way to finish your year, too. Except now they got to go to the Laver Cup, and then they go to, I mean, it's just too much. Asia.
Of the year, I believe that in Melbourne was a kind of relief, because in my mind, it was like I was working for it, and you never know if you can win one Grand Slam or not. But when you win one, you know that you can do it potentially. Here was difficult because also the pre-tournament circumstances were not easy.
Drugs.
I felt like that I've grown, match by match, and
He's definitely going to have to, he definitely developed thick skin after this week. 2 weeks. For sure.
that my confidence level went higher and higher at some point. But it was different because I had maybe a bit more pressure this time than in Australia. So I'm happy how I handled this one, and I'm just excited to have this trophy with me.
Okay, Matt.
Hey, Yannick. Matt Futterman for The Athletic. Congratulations. When you mentioned the pre-tournament circumstances, was there a point during the past 2 weeks where you were really able to sort of leave that all behind and sort of move on from it in a way? And what allowed you to do that?
Well, what allowed me to do that was always the people who are close to me daily, people who know me already from when I was very young, and also my family and my team and everyone who...
It's kind of a shitty story. It's like he played amazing tennis, but there's this kind of cloud over him. And of course, now he's going to dig into his camp more. And it's like, do we like Yannick Sinner? Yes, we do. But this is still a weird situation. And the masseuse was rubbing steroids on his body. Well, that to me doesn't seem like he's cheating. But also, why was this hidden for so long? What exactly is going on? It just sucks. It sucks. And, I hope I can get back to liking Yannick Sinner as much as I did before. And let's hope this has nothing to do with this is totally just weird circumstances, because I would definitely say he was one of my more favorite athletes. Not that he's not anymore, but it's just a strange situation. It's strange. And it's hard to not think about Yannick Sinner before this and Yannick Sinner after this. And he will have to choose to deal with this in the only way he can, which is put the nose down, go to work, and win as many Grand Slams as he can. And all great champions have had controversies in their careers. So probably we won't think about this again, but if it keeps happening, then we will. Then we know something's up. What I would prefer to take away from Yannick Sinner is just how still his upper body is when he strikes the ball. He absolutely obliterates the ball, and it's very fun to watch him. And I watched him at the Australian Open. He just didn't know how to volley. I watched him at the US Open. He knows how to volley. So let's take lessons from he's improved his game. Taylor Fritz talked about how much his serve is improved. Yannick Sinner's serve. We all should be improving all the time. You, be improving. Michael, be improving. Walter, my dog, be improving yourself. Stop biting the kids. Ladies and gentlemen, I will see you in Seattle and Portland this weekend. Daily Show is back on. I got some hosting dates coming up. I appreciate you. Thank you for listening to Tennis Anyone podcast. If you enjoy this, share it with your friends, please. We always need more listeners. We always need more ratings and reviews. Tickets at michaelcosta.com/tour. Follow me at Michael Costa. Direct message me at Michael Costa. Thank you to all the Tennis Anyone listeners. Congrats on a U.S. Open. What am I missing? Let's do a random Jannik Sinner listen. I'm going to go to 8:32. Let's hear what he has to say to sign us out. Game, set, match, Kosta. This is for you, U.S. Open champ Jannik Sinner.
For sure, winning the first Grand Slam of the year gives you confidence. It gives you, good feelings. But in the other way, it's you always have to work. You have to. It never stops. It's like you always keep going and keep going. And
I like that. It's like the Instagram scroll. It never stops. Game, set, match, Kosta. Thanks for listening. Kosta.